Hello and welcome to this very special show. We're all eagerly awaiting the release of Shiv Shastri Balboa, which releases in theatres in India on the 10th of February. And it's an inspirational story of a senior pensioner who finds his way into the United States. He happens to be a big Rocky Balboa fan, and it takes him through a very interesting journey through the American countryside. And who better to speak to us about this film than the entire crew who's here in the Times Now studios today to, in fact, shed some light on what this movie is about as we eagerly anticipate its release in just a few days from now. Mr. Anupam Kher joins us, as does Mr. Ajayan Venugopalan, who's of course made this film. Nargis Fakhri is with us, as is Mr. Sharib Hashmi. Mr. Venugopalan, let me begin by asking you about this film. A lot of your films are set in the United States of America. One can think of Penumbra as well. And this, of course, is also set in the United States. The US is itself a character, right, in a certain sense in the movies that you make. So tell us about your thought process when deciding to make this particular film, and how America has in fact been a very integral player, protagonist in its own in the movies that you made so far.
So mostly when we talk about immigration to West, it's actually a really complicated immigration, because once you move in, you start settling down, you buy a house. So this was a lot of things most of my stories I have tried to address the issues of immigration in different levels. So one of this is actually from my personal experiences, where my own dad, I'm originally from Kerala. Yes. My dad used to come and stay with me. So he was very excited coming to US. My son has settled down and all that. But eventually he came to realize that, the life in US can be a really boring thing. You're stuck in a house. You don't have anybody to talk to. He was a very social guy back home in Kerala. So it got me thinking in terms of, for example, and on top of it, the other thing I realized that we have a stigma about age, especially as South Asians and Indians. Mm-hmm. We think that after a certain age, we are supposed to do certain things. So I just wanted to question it and make a story about it. And that's ended up being this film, Shiv Shastri Balboa.
So what appealed you, Mr. Kher, to this concept, to this entire story, to the extent that I remember you saying in a different context, of course, you did say that it's the first time in almost 38 years that I'm appearing as a prominent protagonist on the poster of a certain film. That's factually a bit untrue, because obviously you've spearheaded roles in a lot of the films that you've made over your illustrious career so far. But tell us about your thought process when deciding to sign up for this.
See, there are a lot of scripts you hear where you don't identify, but you do the character. My personal thought process absolutely mixed with the thought process of Shiv Shastri Balboa. My personal thought process is that I'm 67, and I have just begun the journey of my life, both as a person and as an actor. And so when Shiv Shastri Balboa's script I read, I said, wow, this man is also rediscovering his own potentials. We are all born as extraordinary people, I believe so, but in the process of life we all become ordinary. And we die an ordinary death, and we live an ordinary life. I'm not saying talking about fame or anything like that. I felt that after 60 now people will start calling me legend, thespian, veteran, and basically tell me that I should be given a Lifetime Achievement Award, and then I will walk into the sunset. I'm far, far, far away from there. So the identification of my Anupam Kher with Shiv Shastri Balboa was amazing. And also the journey is very adventurous. It is not a morose man sitting down in Ohio, America, and sort of saying that I'm lonely. He actually elopes with a 60-year-old woman, and just because, no romantic angle to that, only because she has been wanting to go back to India, and he takes that 14-hour journey full of adventure to just drop her at the airport and get that flight boarded up to India. So there are so many facets in it, and what you're looking at in today's time is challenges. As far as posters are concerned, well, I did Daddy, I was on the poster, Wednesday, Khosla Ka Khosla. What I meant at that particular thing, what you don't have our posters over here, but
we'll make sure to put that once the
please. But the kind of poster that we have for Shiv Shastri Balboa is something which is very striking. which is in your face. The Anupam Kher poster is in your face. It's not necessarily saying that this is the story of the film. We are not interested in telling the world. You have to attract the audiences. You have to sell what is in the film, but you can be very smart about it. So that's what my reference point was.
Nargis, you've completed more than a decade now in Indian films. Rockstar released in 2011. So it's been 11 years now. Tell us about the journey so far. And were you a Rocky series fan when you grew up? Did you watch a lot of Rocky films growing up?
I've seen the Rocky films, but that was quite a long time ago. And my journey for a decade, wow, that just sounds crazy. Yeah, it's like, wow. I can't believe that it's 10 years. I like 10 years better than decade. Wow, when you say that, yeah, I look back and I'm actually like surprised at, you know, where I've started and where I've gone. And, you know, I was away from India for about 2-3 years, especially because COVID had happened, so we were all away from each other. But I'm so happy to be back and working again, and it just feels absolutely amazing. And I'm so honored and blessed to be working with this cast and this team, because, as you know, Sir is amazing. I'm going to say legend, icon again and again.
No.
And everybody was just amazing. It was just such a wonderful set and atmosphere. The story is just so real and relatable. And I loved my character. She was so bubbly and fun. She brought the sunshine into the rainy moments, always cheerful. Another thing that I loved is the contrast between me and my boyfriend, Cinnamon Singh, which everyone I think will love.
The physical contrast.
The physical contrast, yes. But still relatable. Funny as that might sound, I mean, love is blind. Yeah. So
this is the right example.
Yeah, but it's real. Look, I mean, I'm sure you've seen many people outside and you're like, why are they together? But there's always, you know, in humans, there's something more than, you know.
Just the outer appearance.
Yeah, you know, there's the soul and the heart and soul. And this movie has heart and soul. And that's what I love so much about this film, the heart and the soul. And I mean, I can go on and on and on. It's just, everyone should just go see this film, February 10th. Please.
Yeah, let's also pick Sharib's brains on this. Sharib, tell us about your motivations for being a part of this entire project. And it's been quite an inspirational journey for you as well. If one goes back all the way to Slumdog Millionaire and then, of course, Family Man most recently. Tell us about the journey so far and of course, what was your thinking when you decided to sign up for this?
There were more than one motivation, you know, to do this film, because when I read the script, first of all, the title completely intrigued me. Shiv Shastri and Balboa, पंडित और कोई बॉक्सर है क्या साथ में? ऐसे कुछ मुझे लगा पता नहीं क्या है. Then when I started reading the script, it really engaged me as an audience, and I really liked my character Cinnamon Singh, who's an aspiring singer and who runs a gas station in a small town, and who has a very gorgeous girlfriend, Sia. I immensely loved the script. I also resonated with Shiv Shastri Balboa because I also started acting. I pursued acting as a profession very late in life. So the theme that age is just a number also resonated with me.
Okay.
And yes, when I got to know that Anupam Sir is there in the film, Neena ma'am is playing Elsa. And then I came to know that Nargis would be playing my girlfriend. So that was like the icing on the cake.
He certainly reduced his fees.
Yeah, I was ready to, you know.
Interesting. So let me ask you about Neena Gupta. She's unfortunately not here in the studio. We'd love to, in fact, speak to her as well. But you said something very interesting, Mr. Kher, about a past working equation with Neena Gupta. You reminded us of Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, where she was, of course, a prominent cast in the film. And you also, in fact, did act in 2 scenes in the film.
Two iconic scenes.
2 iconic scenes, and Kundan Shah, at the nth moment, comes up to you and says that, you know, for reasons of duration, we need to cut your 2 scenes. Yeah. And you said this in the context of a question that was specifically asked to you about some of the ups and downs that you faced in your life and how you picked yourself up amid setbacks. So that was quite a revealing lesson that you shared with us. Tell us a bit more about it.
So that's the theme of the film, that you go through setbacks, but you need to pick up. Yeah, and that was devastating for me because
that character's name is Disco Killer.
Disco Killer.
Disco Killer, yes.
Yeah, Disco Killer. I was supposed to be a contract killer who couldn't see, who used to dance while killing people.
Wow. See, I gotta watch this.
Oh, but those scenes are cut. So it did not happen that I had done 10 films and then some director came up to me and said, I knew that there was this most happening film being made where everybody is in the film. All my friends are there. Nasir is there, Ravi Baswani is there, Satish Kaushik, Satish Shah, Neena Gupta. And I have the most amazing character which will 100% stand out. I said, I'm made. My Bollywood career or my Hindi film career is started. So I was not in that situation. And one day outside Prithvi Theatre, I remember that. It was evening. I was going to see a play. And he just casually met me. I said, Anupam, I just have to talk to you and he was a very unemotionally, well, at least he used to come across like that. He was a wonderful person, wonderful director. He said, Anupam, I have to tell you that both your scenes are gone. Okay, bye. I had to edit it because, oh my God, I said, it's over because I was not this most handsome, hunky kind of a person. I was given role because I looked the part maybe. I was also playing it very differently. I had already shot the film. And remember that I went onto the beach in the middle of the night and I really howled and I cried. But life has surprises. I did not let it bother me. I went into the self-pity zone. I indulged in all kinds of things. And then I said, pick up yourself, mister, because after 38 years, you will be saying in Times Now show that you have done 534 films and your film, Rocky Balboa, is based on your film. No, Rocky Balboa is not
Shiv
based
Shastri
on. Shiv Shastri Balboa is based. So, kuch bhi ho sakta hai.
Mr. Venugopalan, we all remember that inspirational scene in Rocky where Sylvester Stallone is, of course, running and he's basically preparing himself for the bout and the entire crowd joins him. And the inspirational tune that plays in the background. Absolutely. And can we see some similar shades can we expect that in this particular film as well? Tell us about the Rocky motive specifically that you decided to introduce in this particular film with an Indian audience in mind. And what can we expect in terms of the kind of inspirational scenes that we saw in the original Rocky as well? Can we see some signs of that here?
That's a very interesting question that you asked because when I was writing the script, I knew that the journey has to be about finding the hero within.
Yes.
And I could not think about any other classic film because even from the 80s or 70s era, Rocky had been a motivation, not just for people to... I still know friends who go to the gym because they listen to the Rocky music. So this film has actually transcended borders in terms of inspiring people. So I thought that would be the perfect motive for Shastri to find the hero within. So that's how it all happened. I started writing the first draft. The first draft, actually the Rocky angle was not there. And then I knew that there should be something more to the story to finding that hero within. So it was a very organically it happened, and that's how even the title, I ended up with the title of Shiv Shastri Balboa because I wanted to bring in that contrast of a man who is actually from some small town in Madhya Pradesh getting inspired from a Hollywood film. And that always happens. The film has that.
And there is nothing Hollywoodish about Shiv Shastri. The name itself also is not. But I must add to that, when we actually went and shot at those at the Rocky steps, it was fabulous. There were so many people taking these pictures with this thing. It was that's how the film sort of reaches
they
its
even have
climax.
A statue of Sylvester Stallone there. So
as Rocky.
And they say that it's one of the third most touristy places in US because of it's just one film, so inspiring.
It's like I was very big fan of Dara Singh films. Huge fan. I remember in Tarzan 303, Lutera, all these films. It's something similar to that. If I had to sort of come to my childhood hero from Hindi land, India land, then I'll say Dara Singh was something like that. We have stopped making that. Well, अपने आप मुहावरे होते थे ना, अपने आप को दारा सिंह समझता है. So I think the climax is something like that because he does fulfill his dream to his own self.
we're of course speaking the build-up to the eventual release that's going to happen on the 10th. But I just want to ask all of you, is there a sense of apprehension for the simple reason that when it comes to the Hindi film industry, it's gone through a difficult testing phase in recent times. There have been calls for boycotts for a whole lot of reasons. However, it seems to have actually now rejuvenated itself in a certain sense, given the box office collections for some of the films that we've seen in the recent past, with Pathaan among others. So is there a lingering sensation, both from the person who's made the film as well as the actors who've acted in it, that these are testing times and therefore we need to be a bit cautious? Or how are you approaching that, the build-up entirely, Nargis?
I think we are completely forgetting.
Okay.
Sorry, that question.
No, I mean, all of you can speak.
I think we are completely forgetting that how short a human memory is. That we went through 2 years of COVID. We went through 2 years of lockdown. We went through 2 years of trauma within. We went through people losing their dear ones, friends. We saw fear. One small virus made us completely helpless. So it's not only about not wanting to go. So people don't want to see anything which is fake because they don't relate to it. And a film like Kashmir Files did such an amazing business, even though it was about a tragedy.
Yes.
Films like Kathiawadi was completely different. Bhool Bhulaiya was different. Drishyam was different. Pathaan is different. You have to make something for the audiences today to spend that 500 rupees or 2,000 rupees and watch you because there are millions of sources of entertainment. So we believe it's going to be tough for us. That's why we are here in your studio and talking to you, because making a good film is not sufficient today. You have to loudly scream and say, please come and watch our film. Because once they get into the cinema hall, I would like to believe that they will like the film.
You did say something very important, Mr. Kher, and I'll take this across to both Nargis as well as Sharib, where you said that people actually want to see reality as well depicted in films. Some would say that a movie like Pathaan maybe bucked the trend because it was escapism. It's the kind of escapism that you associated with the Hindi film industry at a certain point in time, where the cliche, so to speak, was that you leave your brains back home and then you just go to get yourself entertained.
I don't agree with that. I think a film like Pathaan also is very important because we are all looking for heroes larger than life.
That is true.
We are looking for, we as Indians are larger than life. We laugh loudly, we crowd loudly, we scream loudly. We are not, there is nothing subtle about us.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
And there is nothing subtle about it. We are joyous people. Our heart is bigger than any other places. We meet people, we went to America, we saw Indians, they said, "Arey!" As if I was their uncle who was living with them for the last 15 years. That's why actors are part of their lives in India. It's nowhere in the world. So I think that makes a difference, and Pathaan should be given the credit for being larger than life. You don't have to leave. Sometimes you like big things. Why do you go to Taj Mahal? Why do you go to China, Wall of China or something? You go and see these wonderful things because they give you a sense of wonder. At the same time, Shiv Shastri Balboa, people relate to the story. This can be my father, this can be my uncle, this can be my son. I'm talking too much, please take over.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's only right that the audience has variety.
Absolutely.
There's variety in every other areas of life. Why not have variety in film? And yes, exactly. Sometimes we want to see larger than life, heroes, and then sometimes we want to feel connected to something and know that, oh my gosh, I have these same issues. I'm not alone. Look, I'm watching it. Oh, this gave me some insight to life. I can take inspiration from this story because it's so realistic. So I think that's...
I think this is a time of coexistence. If a Pathaan is doing well, a Kashmir File is also equally doing an amazing number of, number at the box office. So people are very receptive.
We should celebrate cinema and celebrate success.
Success, absolutely. Yeah, people are receptive. They are accepting different kinds of stories, unconventional faces. So I think this is the right time for our film as well, because it talks about all the unconventional things and and we are not saying it in a very unconventional manner. It's a very entertaining script, very enjoyable script, and we're talking about very big things, but in a very light-hearted manner.
And in a very realistic
in a very realistic
yeah.
manner.
Yeah. It's a happy film about unhappy situations.
I'll leave you guys with a final question. And Mr. Venugopalan, there's been a lot of cross-pollination in the Indian film industry, and I think that's the right reference to it, because you do have movies coming from the South and, of course, the Hindi film industry as well. And there is a lot of cross-collaboration that we're seeing between the different fraternities these days, because perhaps there's a realization that the Indian film industry needs to stand united. This is also at a time when there is greater recognition globally for Indian cinema in general. We're seeing that at the Oscars as well, with movies like RRR. Even Kashmir Files was part of the initial shortlist. So tell us a bit more about what this means in terms of the kind of significant phase that Indian cinema generally is going through at this point in time.
It's an amazing phase, especially post-COVID. You know, people have started to watch content from, even I'm from Kerala, even Malayalam films are being watched all of a sudden. There is Telugu and Tamil films which are doing amazingly well. But to connect to the whole point, and I was talking to Sir also about this, for example, in our film, all these characters are like Shastri is from Madhya Pradesh, this Elsa is from South, Cinnamon is from Punjab. But once you cross these boundaries, once you cross India, for example, Shastri would not have talked to somebody like Elsa, who is a South Indian and a housemaid. But all these boundaries of language and all those things are actually because that we think of it like that. But once that boundaries are crossed, like for example, if you go to US, all of us are Hindustani all of a sudden, you know, all of us are Indians, and we try to find the common things, you know, rather than the things which divide us. So that's one of the very interesting aspects of the, you know, in this film, which we have said in a very subtle and a humorous way.
Well, on that note, I think that's a very good note to end this particular discussion. The movie comes out on the 10th of February in theatres across this country, and we'd urge you to strongly just go and watch it. It's a very inspirational tale, and like Mr. Anupam Kher said, a lot of lessons to be learned, and an inspiring story of a senior citizen, a pensioner, who's found his way to the United States and undergoes a journey of rediscovery in its own sense.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sharib Hashmi, Nargis Fakhri, Mr. Venugopalan and Mr. Kher for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.